Hi, and welcome to another edition of Game Development with SDL. We're going to be playing with Crazy Eddie's GUI system, which is a graphical user interface. That's what GUI stands for. And so you usually see this written as CEGUI, which is Crazy Eddie's GUI, graphical user interface. And this thing, if you want to check it out, hit the main page and you can just see what is possible with this edition here. It's really quite cool. It's got, all kinds of great stuff. Also semi-transparent windows, etc., etc., etc. It's awesome. You can also have node-based Windows systems like this here, where it's driven connection. Lots of awesome stuff here, and you can resize windows, and you can also do transparent windows, and you can do just a great looking interfaces. And you have your own custom cursor if you like. Essentially, we don't have to sit there and reinvent the wheel, which I do not want to do. So what we're going to do is set up Crazy Eddie's GUI system for our graphical application, and this will let us do our game. We're going to do our game editor this way. This will also let us do really easily, along with also doing this for a number of other type of functionalities, and basically allow us to do the actual game engine itself and do the interface for the users to set up for configuring the windows or the joysticks or anything of that nature. So it's very useful for a game in general, and it's quite wonderful for that. Also, when we're doing our networking too, it'll make it easy for us to have our little chat window in there so we can chat back and forth with other players, and then also do in-game and the configuration windows and all the stuff for the network. So, and also for audio, or you name it, man. Just anything that you want to do in a user interface as far as the player is concerned, or actually for the artists for developing the actual game with their game engine. So this just really makes life a lot easier, and we don't have to go in and code out our own combo boxes, our drop-down boxes, our edit boxes, our list boxes, our radio buttons, or check boxes, all these different things that are standard in most GUI programming suites, with rapid application, or RAD tools, if you will. Rapid application development is what RAD stands for. So, it just makes life a lot easier. So, because of that, we're going to have to do some extra work and get this set up. Now, it is true that if you go over here to the downloads part here, which I already have pulled up, and then I'll have a couple of different ones here, but let's say we're going to go with the latest stable one at this time, which is 0.75, and the 7 releases is an improvement over the 6 releases, and that's why we're going to go with it. Now, they do have the 6 release right out of the box inside of Ubuntu, but we're going to actually go through the trouble of hand building this library so that we have the latest and greatest. You also notice that they have the CEGUI, which is the Ming W here, one for Windows, which is great because that gets us supported for our Windows platform too. So, and they also have it for the Mac OS X too. So this lets us create one GUI interface that works across all platforms, and with very sophisticated looking windows, and look very professional, and without a whole lot of headaches and hard work to make it come out, to pull it off. So we're going to basically use that instead of handwriting all this. Okay, so let's talk about the setup, because the setup can be grueling and intense. Now, I've already done the injections, and injections is basically passing the input from SDL into Crazy Eddie's GUI, and here I've already coded it up, and it works. And you're going to look at it, and I've included a lot more libraries now in order to pull this off. But I run the application, you're like, well, it looks the same, and it does, and that's accurate. But the thing is, I can add additional windows in here fairly easily, and I can add all kinds of special input configurations, etc., etc., etc. And I couldn't have done that easily otherwise. I would have to have heavily coded this out and such. So I did get back to the original look of the application, But in this case, now we're doing Crazy Eddie's GUI system, and no longer are we doing it in SDL, and everything's just getting passed through. So there is more code, as you can see, but it did add a decent amount of extra code to this. But and we'll get into that later, probably in the next video. But for right now, let's get set up, getting GUI's Crazy Eddie's GUI system working. All right. So I've already got the process and set up and working in here. So I want to go through how to do this in the other virtual machine, which I have not set it up. So that way you see all the problems that you run into and how to get around them and all this. Now I've already gone and done all the legwork, so I made it work easily and fine. But it did take a little bit of time to work through some of the issues here. So I'm going to quickly pop over here and get set up here with this one. Now I need to go to Crazy Eddie's GUI system. So Crazy Eddie. I'm just going to do CEGUI. That's the easy way to do it, right? Okay. And it's going to take me straight to the home page here. Bada bing. There we are. Okay, go to downloads, and then I'm going to go to current stable release. And that's what I want. I need the source in this case, right? Because I need a tarball, and this is for Linux and Mac users. That's what I am, so that's what I need to get. So I'm going to go ahead and break this off into a separate tab. And I also want to download the documentation, because that's going to come in handy too, let me tell you. And that will make a whole lot of sense and make life so much easier. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to be downloading Crazy Eddie's GUI system, and this is just going to go into my downloads folder, which will work fine for me. I'm cool with that. All right, and then I also need the documentation too. All right. Cool. So I'm going to get the documentation now, and I'm downloading that also. Very cool. So from here, what I want to do is, which documentation did I grab? Does it matter? It probably doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I did zip here, but I could just as easily have done tarball. It really doesn't matter, honestly. I'm going to show you how to extract this graphically. We don't have to do it graphically. It's just, I don't know. I figure for you guys it'd be easier if I do it graphically. So, you know. All right, I'm going to move these files over into my other folder. So here I'm just going to do this together with the actual window. So I'm going to go here into Downloads, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab a couple of these document folders here. So we got our docs that we've been downloading, and we also got our code here. And let me real quickly see if it's finished downloading. And it looks like it is. It is. Cool. And I'm just going to move these real quick over into my programming folder, because it makes more sense for it to be there. Alright, I'm just going to right click on this, and I have archive, open archive thing set up here automatically in Ubuntu. So I'll just say extract here, and bam, there it is. Same thing goes for this one here too, for the documents. Okay, so what we want to do is get set up to where we can actually start looking at the documentation directly within inside of our computer here for Crazy Eddie's GUI. And there's a ton of files in here, so it takes a hot minute for it to load up. And I can start looking at the documentation directly from within my web browser. I just need to go to it in my web browser like so. And then I just need to choose the index file, and it's alphabetical. So here we are. Index is going to be before inherit. If I could just get there. There it is. That's the one. And here we are. If I hold down Control and plus, I can blow this up so you can see it easier. But basically, we've already obtained the code. Supported systems and compilation. So here's the different ones we could have for installing and getting set up. Now, the easy way to get going with this right off the bat is to pop in here to my system administration and then go to Synaptic Package Manager. Put in your password, and this will go ahead and launch. Now, the cool thing here is they already have Crazy Eddie GUI system in here. That's what I want to do because I don't want to go through the hassle of trying to find all these different packages and make it work, which is a pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do here is go in and get set up like this. Bam. So I selected all those and then told it to install them all. When I say apply, you'll notice that to be installed is a bunch of packages. Oh look, free image, CMS, Lua, the libs we have. So all these different ones, PCRE, 3, readline, Xers, Lua 5, etc., etc., etc. So a number of ones that we're going to want installed, and that makes life easier. Now I can get additional ones that they didn't even select in here to install, in addition to what I'm already doing, if I so desire. For instance, we could have some of these XML ones, but we already have Xers here, which if Xers gets installed, should be installing a bunch of the XML ones also. There's also Devil and Corona, and we already have free image, and there's Silly, and there's Lula here. Lula's getting already put in. We also got PCRE and free type also. I did have problems with Devil. Devil's really cool, as it really does load images in for you as an image loading library, which is extremely awesome. So is free image. Problem with Devil is that a lot of the dependencies just didn't come across with Devil. So like you install Devil, but a lot of the dependencies that Devil is based on just didn't come along for the ride for whatever reason. And compiling it with Devil ended up being a real trick, and so I had to do a special configure to get around the problem once I installed Devil. So I'm not going to install Devil for that reason alone. It's up to you if you want to do a Devil. That's fine, but you will probably have to work through a number of headaches or problems. Maybe it'll go perfect for you. That's great if it does. For me, it ended up being a real hassle and a real problem. So for that reason, I did not install it this time. So if it doesn't automatically install it and it doesn't come up on the configuration setup here, that's fine by me, because I don't have a problem with that one bit. Okay, so I have to wait for these to finish installing before I can start doing my configuration. But let's go ahead and pop over there and let's start going into doing our configuration setup here. Alright, so with that, I'm going to bring up my terminal and blow it up some. Alright, I'm going to CD into my programming folder where I put my files. If I do an ls here, you can see it. I did have my files in here, no problem, and here we are. Here's Crazy Eddie's GUI system. So I need to go CD into that. I'm lazy, so I'm going to select this and then middle click to paste it and then hit enter. ls again, and there we are in the directory. Awesome. Now, there's a couple of things we can do. Now let me show you something here. If I do a configure here, space -- help, this will give me all the options of everything I can do for configuring this setup here. And I can configure this thing to be compiled for particular aspects, turn different things on, off, etc. for the compilation. Now configuring, what it does is it sets it up for compiling and automatically configures the options for compiling. And this is great when you're trying to do multi-platform distribution or whatever. Now this is automatically done for us pretty much with code blocks. However, a setup like this is quite nice, and that's what we're seeing here. Indeed. Okay. So back over here, and it's installing and should be updating our libraries automatically for us. And then we'll see if we have a problem or not when we do the configure. Okay. Loading up. Alright, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and close that now. And come back over to my editor here. And I'm going to type in configure. And I'm going to let this thing compute for its configuration. And you can see it's going through here and it's checking out the system and finding what is available and what's not available. And it's going to come back with a report of what we can compile with and what we can't compile with. Now, if at some other point in time later on you want to add additional features and recompile it, you can do that. It's not going to cause you a problem. You just have to do this at some point in time here. So we need to see if there's something that's missing that we really would want to have in here. We have Python extensions apparently. It's not going to do the Lula, even though Lula is installed. It's not doing the Lula here. So if I wanted to, I could force Lula to be built. I could do that with the configure and pass in those setups here. So devil image codec is here, and this is probably going to give me a problem. And I can tell it not to do that one. I also am not going to get glue here. So if I want glue, which is a special graphics library for doing shaders in OpenGL, to simplify the process of getting that working in a project, which we'll get into some time in the future. But it's okay, so say I want glue in here. And I need to do special custom functionality also for the other part, because devil is going to give me headaches. Probably. I'll do a test build, but it's... Well, no, test builds take forever. Never mind, I won't do a test build. Okay. So, glue, like this. And it pulls up your glue, which is your graphics wrangler. Basically, it's going to let you do shaders, essentially. So I'm just going to install all these glue libraries here. I'm going to say apply. And now I want to reconfigure here. It will automatically download and install them. Okay. And if I run my configuration again, over here, I just hit the up arrow and hit enter. That lets me pull up the previous command I typed, as I went over in the previous video. And just letting this thing build out now. For the configure anyways. It's not actually building the project, it's just finding stuff right now and configuring it for building. Alright. So it came back. And what it came back with is the fact that we have glue now. Should be in here. Yeah. So glue library here is now available. And it can now make use of that. So very cool. Now I'm just going to go ahead and disable devil. And my reasoning for doing this, and I could install Corona if I want, as a for instance here, if I want to get Corona in here also, so I have more choices, if you will. Corona didn't give me a headache. It wasn't a problem for getting it, so. Let's see here, Corona, how are they spelling that exactly? Okay, just like Corona, okay. Got it. Alright. Alright, Corona I think went by another name. Yeah, because they have it in the web page here for the different ones. And I think Corona actually goes by a different name for the actual package, which really threw me off. I believe that's the case. Oh well, it doesn't really matter because we don't have to have this. Oh, I thought it was a different name. Okay. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to live or die if I don't have Corona in here. I think I did get it going in the other one, but oh well, who cares? I really don't care. So it just doesn't matter to me. Also, sometimes you'll get a better search if you go into the search thing here and search for something. In this case, I didn't. Okay, whatever. Not worth it. Alright. So, devil's going to give me trouble. So, I don't want devil. And I just don't want to deal with that. So, I'm going to turn off devil. And I can do that with my configuration. Now, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. I meant to do the -- help for it. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Hold on a second. Alright. Now, once we start compiling with the make command, it's going to take a while for it to build. Okay. Okay, so if I go through here, and I just did the -- help again, and we go through all these different attributes, and there's tons of attributes we can set for this thing. You can see that we can enable different things. You can also disable things too. And you can disable there are some commands that are here. So dash dash enabled space dash devil, right? You know, well, there's not a disabled one. That's correct. They don't have one listed, but it does exist. So all I have to do essentially is come in here and change enabled to disabled, and it'll work. And so that will configure it with disabling devil, where devil was being a problem for me. And when the configure is done, devil will no longer be listed as a configured and existing in the system, which is really great because this is a really long build, and well, not a really long build, but it's a long build. Let's put it that way. Really long build goes a lot longer. See, so devil image codec is now no, and now it's defaulting to free image codec. So that'll work for me. Devil is really cool if you want to go through trouble getting it to work. You'll have to do some real troubleshooting to make that happen, but it is quite awesome if you do have that set up. And in the same way I just did this for getting devil in there, you can go through attributes to get Lula turned on, which is great if you're trying to do your own scripting system for your game engine, and Lula's always a great choice for that because it is so fast. It's probably one of the fastest scripting languages in existence, so Lula as a scripting module would be a great thing to have, and that would allow you to do more stuff for your game as far as having a full game editing capability and allowing more functionality to other developers who are using your game engine. Okay, so with that said, we're now set up to do our make. And I can do my make without being at root level. So if I go ahead and say make, you get a whole bunch of crazy looking text. And these are all the different build options that are going through. And it's compiling this CEGUI here. Alright, so that's going to take probably about an hour to compute on this virtual machine. Granted, I'm running on a virtual machine, so it's going to go slower. By far, and I'm running 2 virtual machines plus a regular computer, so I'm basically like running 3 computers off of 1 processor, so it's going to slow things down, of course. But you'll probably want to do that too if you're doing this inside of the virtual machine for your own stuff, and we need to do that because we're going to be doing a GUI interface for our client side networking here, so that way people can type messages and see what is being sent back from everyone else in a group type set up for chat room, basically, inside the game while you're playing the game, so that way you can communicate with other people. Okay, so that's all we need to do in order to get that compiling and going. Now we do need to do some other stuff too, so I'm going to go ahead and launch another terminal, and I don't want to pop over into another setup, so I'm going to make this quite big so you can see it. Now I'm going to go sudo-s here already. Let me just bring that down a tad. That's really big. Alright, so control plus and minus here up on the top of the keyboard next to the backspace will let you, shift control and plus will let you enlarge it. Control and minus will let you make it smaller. So, whatever. Anyways, if I type in gedit now, and I'm running at root level, because I did sudo-s, right? Now I can go into my gedit. If I go here into open, and then I pop over into file system, and I go into etc, because this is where our configuration folder is, I can go on down to where ld.so.conf is, which is our configuration file for our libraries. Awesome. And now I can add in a new location for our library. In this case, I'm going to want to do /usr/local/lib. So that way, user local libraries are included in my library listing. Now that's going to matter because once we do actually build this, we'll do the make install, right? And the sudo make install, which it makes it root level when we do that, it's going to put it into the system folder. And it's going to put it into /usr/local/lib library location. That's where it's going to put it. So it's really important that we list this location so that it's available for libraries, so that way when we go to compile, it was seen by the system, so that way we can actually access it with our actual compiler here, code blocks, and then also when we run the application, it needs to be available. So I'm going to say save. Okay. And then to update that library, all I'd have to do now is ld config like this, and then I'll update the library. As a side note, I can do this and then pipe this into a grep command, and then I can tell it what I'm looking for. In this case, I'm going to be looking for CEGUI star here, and there'd be a lib in front of it too, because I mean that'd be the command, and then this would come back with all the libraries. Now of course we haven't actually installed these libraries yet, so it's not going to come back, but if it was there, this would show up now, and I would be only pulling out those that actually matter to me and not the entire list. The entire list is so long it won't fit in the window, so it's really important that I just extract just what I'm looking for, and that lets me extract just what I'm looking for. Oh, I'm sorry, and I need to do a -v for verbose too, which means make it visible. So there it goes. It needs to be something like that. There we are. See? So it comes back with these actual libraries actually being listed. And we're only seeing the libraries that matter to us and nothing extra. So here we are. Here's the listings of stuff that we're interested in. Okay. So we need to set up our code blocks project to handle this. Okay, so we have our gamepad one over here. And I need to add a number of actual things to this project. And let me just show you what I need to add, because I got this over in the other one wall. So I'm doing kind of like a cooking show thing where I'm going to pop over here, and while this is compiling, I'm going to show you what my configuration is. Now you can feel free to go ahead and literally just start setting up your configuration in here, just like my own. Okay, so let me pop over to the magical setup here. I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to say build options. Come over here to my linker settings, not leaker settings, but linker settings, right? And I can pull up these other ones here. Okay, cool. Now on this gamepad here, now this is awesome. If I want to be able to add in my networking stuff, which I didn't think I talked about earlier, I'd have to do SDL_net as far as that goes. And if I want to be able to do image also, I need to do SDL underscore image also, so I can load in images into SDL, which we'll get into later on. But besides having GL, GLU, SDL, SDL main, we need also now CEGUI base here needs to be added, and then also CEGUI OpenGL renderer also needs to be added, along with SDL net and SDL image. And all you have to do, of course, is copy to all here, select that, select this one, so on and so forth. I believe that actually gets all of them in this listing, but I'm paranoid, so I'm just going to do it for each one because I just don't trust it. Alright, so there we go. Search directories. Okay, it's important to note that I've listed both the location here as a hard location, and all I did was say add, and then I browse to the location. But you can just put in /usr/local/include/CEGUI. If you don't say this and say you just do /usr/include/CEGUI, that's going to go to our old version of 6.0 for Crazy Eddie's GUI. We want to go to the new one that we're going to be building here and putting in to the directory. In this case, I've already done that, and I already showed you the application running and working. So put it into /usr/local/include/CEGUI. And same thing for this one too. You're going to add another one. You're going to say /usr/local/lib. And these also need to be copied to each one here for each one of these. And then linker also, same thing. Add and just you can just copy and paste this if you want. Go over here, edit, like so, select it, Control C the copy, pop over in here, add, select this whole thing if you like, and then paste. Control V to paste, and that will paste it in just like that. And you can, you'll pop it in, and then it's just a matter of copy all to this location and that location, so on and so forth. So that makes life easier, and that gets you set up. The other thing you're going to want to do is when you come into your file here, that gets your project set up, right? But then you're going to want to come in here and say #include CEGUI/CEGUI.h with open close greater than less than signs. You also need to do #include open greater than sign here CEGUI/renderer/module/OpenGL/CEGUI OpenGL renderer.h close greater than sign. I've also added additional libraries and setups here for, well, basically the setup here for Apple and Linux and everyone else included, in addition to the Windows. So please be aware of that and do your setting accordingly as how you need it done. So, you know, I've had to add in SDL_net, so when we do our networking for our chat window, and then also SDL_image, so that way we can load in images for any kind of image for doing texture loading. And also that's going to be important for passing those textures over to when we start doing the CG shader language, loading CG shaders directly into our browser too here. So we need to have our SDL set up for that. Alrighty then. With that gets our basic setup going here. And yeah, you just need to do the, don't forget, besides SDL here, we need #include SDL and greater than less than signs, _net.h close greater than sign, and that's required for Linux. It's different than the Mac. The Mac, you're going to do open greater than sign SDL/SDL_net.h close greater than sign. So on and so forth. And for everyone else, I just have this set up here. Now if you want to, you could also follow the same pattern here for Windows too, for the SDL here. Totally depends on your setup. Now I already went over my setup and the way I like to do things. Now later on I'll get into how to hand install each of these files into Windows and making this run in Windows too. So we'll get into that later. Besides that, we have our vector and we have our string and our math, and none of that's changed. Okay. There's not much else on this aspect here. All this didn't change here. Alright, so the next thing we need to do after that is we need to start so we need to set up our rendering system here for our GUI. So CEGUI ::, because we're doing the scope. This is the overall name. Now I know I could have done using namespace CEGUI. I didn't do that though, because I didn't want it to be a conflict between something else. Who knows, maybe later on you'll need something that says system too. So I left CEGUI here so that it wouldn't be a name collision. So the namespace is kept separately like this. So CEGUI : here, scope out CEGUI, and then we're going to scope system inside of the CEGUI namespace here too. There's another namespace. Yes, you can have nested namespaces, and they do have nested namespaces in here. And this one's going to be GUI in this case. So be system in this case. : get singleton, open close parentheses. Singleton means it's only called once at the beginning of the application and never called again. So this means you only create one instance of it, and you don't end up with multiple GUI systems. You only end up with one GUI system, so that way you don't bog down your system. So that's great, especially with games, because you need performance. It always matters. It's important to keep speed up. And again, this has been used with lots of game engines. Ogre is an example, Irich, I mean, you name it. It's been used on a ton of different games, and it's a pretty good system for GUI. So that's why we're going to use CEGUI, and it sort of makes life a lot easier. .render GUI here, open close parentheses, semicolon. And we need to do this before our swap buffers. Alright,